1.5 years ago, I was severely underweight. I only weighed 45 kilo. You see, I also had skinny guy syndrome. I ate as much as possible until my stomach felt like it was going to implode, alright? But I still could not gain any weight. And I didn't know why, until I found out the one thing. This one thing sent me from 45 kilo all the way up to 70, alright? I became buff, alright? The truth was, the skinny guy syndrome is just an excuse, okay? I just didn't eat enough, okay? Even though I thought I was eating a ton, you're simply not eating enough, and that's the hard truth. But what I did was kind of dumb. Sure, I weigh 70 kilo now, but do you think that is all muscle? Hell no. Today I'm not going to show you how to go to 70 kilo, 25 kilo difference. No, I'm going to tell you what I would have done. You see, I was chasing numbers on a scale that did not do anything, okay? Sure, I got muscle, but I also got fat, okay? I got fat. So most of you probably know what the term bulk is. Basically, the bulk is meant for you to actually put on muscle and gain size. But most people do a bulk that is way too much. They go into a surplus that just makes them put on a lot of muscle, but they also put on a lot of fat. In this video, I'm going to explain the maintenance calories, calorie surplus, protein intake, and carb intake. These are the 4 things you'll need to know for the rest of your life if you want to put on muscle. And I also need to change your mindset from actually chasing numbers on a scale to just chasing numbers in the gym. Sure, weight is important, you should be gaining weight, but not as much. Okay, let's get right into the first thing, your maintenance calories. So first of all, what is maintenance calories? My maintenance calories, for example, is 2,900. If I eat 2,900 calories, I will maintain my weight. The reason why it's called maintenance calories. So for everybody, your maintenance calories is going to be different for everybody. So how do you actually find out your own maintenance calories? It's that you need to actually calculate this stuff out. But to make this process easier, we're going to use ChatGPT. Quite simple. So basically what you're going to ask ChatGPT is, first of all, I want you to calculate my maintenance calories out. Before you can calculate that, you need 5 aspects. He needs to know 5 things about you. He needs to know your gender, he needs to know your age, he needs to know your height, he needs to know your body weight, and he needs to know how active you are, so how physically active you are. Me, for example, I'm a male, I'm 16 years old, 172 centimeters tall, 70 kilo, and I train 5 times a week, an hour and a half, alright? An hour and a half a day, 5 times a week. So if I tell ChatGPT all this stuff, so I first of all tell him, calculate my maintenance calories out, and then I tell him my gender, all the stuff listed out, he'll spat out a number. And this number for me was 2,900. Alright, it's quite simple to actually calculate your maintenance calories out, that's all you actually need. Cool, we have our maintenance calories out, but we're not trying to maintain our weight. Alright, I already told you we're not trying to chase numbers on the scale, but we still need to actually gain weight to gain muscle. You're obviously still going to gain weight, that's unavoidable, but we can minimize this. So how do we actually gain weight? We need to be in a calorie surplus. What is a calorie surplus? So you simply get your maintenance calories and you add 5 to 10% of your maintenance calories. So for me, 5 to 10% of my maintenance calories would be 150 to 300 calories. Pretty simple, right? So you just go in a calculator, alright? First of all, you get your maintenance calories, then you times it by 0.05, that's going to be 5%. Then the second calculation, you get your maintenance calories again, and then you times it by 0.1, that's going to be 10%. Then you have 2 numbers, so for me the 2 numbers for 5% was 150, the other one was 300, okay? So we have a range now. Then we get these 2 numbers, and then we add it to our maintenance calories, okay? So one at a time. So we get the 150, 2,900, then we have 3,050. Then we get the second number, which is 300, then we get maintenance calories added up, and it'll be 3,200. So we have 2 numbers, 3,050, 3,200. This is the range, alright? This is how many calories we would need to eat. We would need to eat between 3,050 calories to 3,200. And that's our calorie surplus. Disclaimer. Okay, we got this number, 3,050 to 3,200. But this number is always changing, especially if you're in a surplus. If you're in a surplus, even at the small surplus, you're still going to be gaining weight. And over time, this number is going to get bigger. And if you're still going to eat the same amount of calories, 3050, 3200, you're eventually going to hit a plateau in your weight. So how to fix this? At the end of every month, you're just going to calculate your maintenance calories again. So you're going to weigh yourself, see how much you weigh. So after a month, you might weigh 71, maybe only half a kilo more. Calculate this again. So go into ChatGPT, say, okay, I weigh 71 kilo now. Then he'll give you a new number. Then you'll need to do the process again of calculating your maintenance calories and your surplus. And there you have it. Then you'll never get in a fucking plateau. Alright, so now we know everything about our calorie intake and stuff. Now we need to actually see our protein intake. Calories is basically the energy. Protein is the building blocks. So how much protein do we need to eat a day? From my experience, just eating 0.8 grams to 1 gram per kilo of body weight is enough, okay? For some people it might be different, some people might need a bit more, some people might even only need a little bit less. So for you, I would recommend to also stick to a range. So for me, my protein intake range would be 112 grams to 140 grams. The reason most people can't get their protein intake because they don't have a range. I have a range, so 112 to 140. For some people, their diet might change, some days they might not have enough, chicken breast, they get their chicken breast, they can't get their protein in. But as long as you stick within this range, you'll build muscle. So the next thing we need to talk about is our carb intake. So what do carbs actually do? Carbs fuel your workouts. It's the main energy source that your body uses during physical activities. So how many carbs do you need then? Well, for me, I've done some research after 1.5 years of my training, and the sweet spot for me is 50 to 100 grams. This is what I'm going to eat, how many carbs I'm going to eat in my pre-workout meal. So first of all, okay, we know how many carbs we need to eat, but when do we actually eat, the carbs, the pre-workout meal? For me, I need to eat it at least 1 hour before my workout. If I eat it 2 hours before my workout, I'm not going to have any energy. That's just for me. For some people, they can actually get away with 3 hours before their workout. So for you, I would play around a bit. I would say the minimum is the 2 hours before your workout. If it's any longer, then you're not going to have any energy for the gym. So make sure you're eating 50 to 100 grams of carbs, and trust me, you're going to have a lot of energy. So that is it, okay? That is all you need to know about actual nutrition in general. We can get into micronutrients and stuff, but if you just stick to this, you're going to gain muscle. I hope you learned something.